My name is Jennifer Herrera, and I currently work for Montgomery County Public Schools as a first grade teacher. I am also a current student at Loyola University, where I have been working on my master's on educational technology. Working in a Title I school, I wanted to learn about how I could remove some of the barriers that many of my students encounter on a daily basis. Through the program at Loyola, I have been able to learn a vast number of tools that I can use not only with my students, but with parents and staff. As part of my master's program, I was to participate in an internship at my school. For my internship, I worked alongside 7 other colleagues that are part of the first grade team. Through my internship, I was able to provide professional development to my colleagues on various tech tools that would be appropriate for our students and staff. I was able to serve as a technology leader for my colleagues by not only providing professional development sessions, but also providing one-on-one support when my colleagues felt it was necessary. Part of my assignments for my internship were to create an online portfolio that displays the tools that I created to support my staff in their professional development, as well as include the plan I created for my internship. At the beginning of my internship, I created a proposal letter which describes where my colleagues were based on SAM-R and ELI's 8 conditions. I made these conclusions based on discussions I had with my colleagues in the previous school year. In my letter, I discuss how I want to help support my colleagues move along the SAM-R and ELI's 8 conditions continuum. I also created an action plan, which is a timeline of what I would like to complete and when. All of these files were provided to my assistant principal and principal for their approval. They were very excited to see my plan and eager for me to start working with my colleagues. Part of my plan was to conduct a survey to see how my colleagues felt about using technology in their classrooms, learn about what they felt comfortable with, and what they would like to learn about, and how I could best support them. Below is the Google form that I created and sent out to my colleagues. After sending out the survey, I had to send out several reminders so that it could be completed by all. After this being a challenge, I spoke with my colleagues and asked for what type of survey they would work best for them. They stated that they would prefer a plus delta sheet that they could complete after each PD session. I then created a plus delta sheet and had it ready for my first PD session. I had one paper and pencil version as well as an electronic version so that I could meet everyone's needs. One of my sessions consisted of teaching my colleagues about an application called FrontRow. This is an application that allows students to practice several math domains that align with Common Core. I decided to have a professional development on this application because during the school year, our students engage in a state test called MAP-P. Every year, we discuss how our students have a disadvantage with the vocabulary that is used on the test, clicking and dragging, and their stamina on the computer. I thought this tool would be helpful to target some of these areas along with other great practices put into place in our classrooms. I used this application last year and knew how engaging students can get with the application. It is very student-friendly and students are motivated because they receive coins for every answer they get correct. The website also provides students with instructional videos that can help to reinforce the concept if students are struggling with the question. My colleagues were so excited to learn about this application that we even included it as one of our data monitoring tools used during our data checks. For my presentation, I created a PowerPoint that goes through the benefits of using FrontRow for teachers and students. The presentation also discusses why students become motivated to use this application, as well as how teachers can access a student report card to determine what domains students are working on, as well as examples of the types of questions students are working on. I also provided my colleagues with a handout that explains how to create an account, how to add students, access student report cards, how students can access the application, as well as the various feature buttons found in student mode. Another of my sessions consisted of teaching my colleagues about screencasting using the application Screencastify. This is an application that allows teachers and students to record their voice over a presentation. It is very user-friendly and a great tool for both teachers and students. There are several reasons I decided to teach my colleagues about this tool. One is because every year we have the same discussion about us being worried that when we are absent, our students are not receiving the same type of rigorous instruction with the sub. We have also discussed that many times our students are working independently and forget how to either complete an activity or are struggling with a concept. This is a great way for teachers to record their lessons, save it onto student computers, and allow students to go back and play the lesson over. This allows students to take their learning into their own hands. For my presentation, I created a PowerPoint that explains what screencasting is, some benefits it provides, and how to get started. I also provided several examples of how screencasting can be used in the classroom. Another part of my presentation was to show my colleagues the screencast that I made for my ET 605 course. The purpose of the screencast is to show how to sign up for parent conferences using Google Forms. So first, you're going to go to your email. I happen to have a Gmail account, so I'm going to go to www.google.com. If you have Yahoo or any other email address, you're going to go to your email, you're going to log in. In order to sign in to your Gmail, you're going to click Gmail. If you have Gmail or if you have Yahoo, you're going to follow the steps that you normally do when you go into your email. This was a great choice because they were able to see what the viewer would have access to. My colleagues were very excited to learn about this tool. After my presentation, I had my colleagues download the application onto their Chromebooks so that they could see how user-friendly it is. One of the major concerns that did surface was that we do not have this application on our desktops, where we have access to our Promethean board. I told my colleagues that I would try to find a way for us to have access to this on our desktops. After some time, I was able to provide my colleagues with a solution. Another great tool that I was able to present this year is Symbaloo. I was extremely excited to share this tool with my colleagues because teachers have a lot of resources that are used by students themselves and parents. Symbaloo is a great tool that allows teachers to store all of their resources in one place. Symbaloo stores the resources onto a board called a matrix. The reason I shared this resource was because I know my colleagues constantly share games with their students for centers. But as students click on the folders, they sometimes move folders and sometimes delete the folders, and the next student is unable to find it when it is their turn. This can cause teachers to lose time with small groups as they are providing tech support, or students can lose their time on the computer for the day. Either choice is not beneficial for students. Another reason I shared this tool is because teachers are constantly looking for new resources that might support their students, as we know that all students have different needs. With already made matrices that are shared on the website, teachers can add already created matrices onto their Symbaloo account and modify it as they wish. For my presentation, I created a PowerPoint that explains what Symbaloo is and the benefit of using it. I provide an example of what the standard Symbaloo looks like when teachers first sign up. I also go through how to add a bookmark, search for a web mix, add an already created web mix to their Symbaloo, and lastly, how to share the web mix. One of the downfalls is that our desktops, the links that are attached to the bookmarks, open in Internet Explorer. For many of the applications we use, they require Google Chrome. I actually have a colleague that learned about Symbaloo in her undergrad. It was great to work together to try and find a solution. I also taught my colleagues how to use an application called DoInk to create a green screen video. This is a very user-friendly application that allows students to pretend they are in another place. This particular application can only be used on the school iPads. This tool is great because students can share what they know about a topic, what they are learning about, what they have been researching, create an advertisement, and much more. I decided to share this application with my colleagues because I used it last year with my students, and I was able to see how engaged students can become with this application. As part of our curriculum, students are expected to use technology in order to share their research. Therefore, I thought this would be a great tool to use. For my presentation, I decided to create a screencast because many of my colleagues were unable to meet. Therefore, I wanted to provide them with the flexibility of still learning a new application with the convenience of learning at their own pace, as well as when they had time. I was able to screencast my iPad by mirroring it to my computer and using Screencast-O-Matic to record my instructions. In my presentation, I explained that in order for the green screen to work, the application must be downloaded, The picture should have enough room for students to interact with, and a green sheet or tablecloth should be used so that students can be seen in the picture. I also explained the steps to create a video. Thank you for participating in my screencast today. Today we are going to learn about how to use a green screen application in order to have students create videos. I really enjoy this application because it allows students to use their imagination and share information that they have collected either about another country or learning about space, depending on how you would like to use it in your classroom. But before you get started, the first thing that you're going to need is the application. The application is called Do Ink. It is this application that's right here with the octopus. As you can see, it says green screen on there, but the name of the application is Do Ink. You will also need to download some images that will support your students with creating their green screen videos. This is important to do ahead of time because as a teacher, you know what is appropriate for your students depending on their age, as well as making sure that the images that are being selected are appropriate for the green screen because there needs to be enough space for students to interact with the image. At the end of my presentation, I showed one of the videos that were created by my students. My colleagues were impressed with how well the video turned out. During our post-conversation, my colleagues wondered about creating a combined video. I mentioned that in order to piece an entire project together, they would have to use YouTube, and because many were interested in this, I would make my next professional development on how to do this. My next presentation consisted of teaching my colleagues how to use YouTube to edit their videos and create one cohesive video. The reason I chose to teach my colleagues about this tech tool was because many asked me if this was possible after learning about how to create a green screen video. Therefore, I decided this would be a great follow-up presentation. This tech tool is to be used strictly by teachers and not first grade students. For my presentation, I made a PowerPoint that describes the benefits of using YouTube to create a video. I also explained how to log in, how to upload a video, how to add videos to Video Manager, how to adjust the videos, how to add music, edit the volume, add transitions, add text, how to finalize a video, and lastly, how to access the final product. I explained to my colleagues that this can be a little overwhelming. At least, this is how I felt the first time I learned how to make a YouTube video. I reminded them that I was available to help them if and when they wanted to implement this tool with one of their projects. At the end of my presentation, I showed my colleagues how I was able to piece together my students' green screen videos into one cohesive video. They were very excited to see how well the video was put together.
Good day, mate. Good day. Did you know Australians speak English? When you need to go to Australia, you need to speak like this. Hello is good day. Oh my is blimey. And see you later is hoodoo. Did you know Australia is located near the southern hemisphere? It can also be found below the equator. If you visit Australia into August, it is winter. In the outback, the weather is very dry. In Australia, there's a sponge cake named Lamington, and there's seafood. Some foods in Australia are vegetables and grilled chicken. In Australia, there is toast spread with Vegemite.